in the last video, we saw how we can print some messages using the print function. We saw how we can create variables. What we want to do today is add more information to what we've learned. So the first thing is that we might want to do some calculations. So if you have variables or just constants that are whole numbers, ints, or decimal numbers, floats, you can do some operations. So for example, you can add numbers, subtract, multiply, divide, do something called the modulus, do something called the quotient, and do exponents. So I want us to try all these together. So let's try some calculations. So here I'm going to say I want you to print me 10 plus 2, and let's print 10 minus 2, print 10 times 2, and print 10 divided by 2. Okay. So here 10 plus 2 is 12, 10 minus 2 is 8, 10 times 2 is 20, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay. Now, there's also 10 to the power 2. So this is to the power. So this is 10 to the power 2. And so this will give me 100. Let's try that. Okay. And then there's something called the modulus operator. That sign. And just let me put a space for you to be able to see it good. So this is the modulus operator. And this modulus operator gives you the remainder. So if I say print me 10 mod 2, I should get a remainder of 0 because 10 is divisible by 2. But if I say let me try 11 modulus 2, I should get a remainder of 1. Okay. So here the modulus operator gives us the remainder. So that's the modulus operator. Now there is the division, and then there's also one called the quotient, which is 2 double slashes. So let's just see the difference between them. And to see the difference, let's try another number. So let's try 11 divided by 2 and 11 quotient 2. And see what's the difference between them. So when I try dividing 11 by 2, this is doing division. I will get 5.5. Okay. When we use the quotient operator, I will get 5. What is it doing? It is throwing away what is after the decimal. It is not doing rounding. If it was doing rounding, I should have gotten a 6, right? So this is just an extra operator that is available in Python that you can use. So we can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, 2 types of division, the regular division that we're used to, and a quotient just to get the whole number part out. And then we can do remainder. We can use the modulus operator to do remainder, and we can do exponents. So that's the first thing that I wanted to show you. Now, when we're doing mathematical operations, we're going to be following the same order of precedence that you're used to when you're doing algebra. So if you have something in parentheses, it will happen first. And then if you have exponents, and then multiplication and division in order, and then addition, subtraction in order. So here, let's look at 5 plus 2 times 4. Here we have 5 plus 2 times 4, so the multiplication will happen first. So 2 times 4 gives me 8, and then I have 5 plus 8 is 13. But if I put parentheses around the 5 plus 2, because I put parentheses around it, this will get executed first. So I will get 5 plus 2, which is 7, times 4, I will get a 28. So these two expressions will give me different answers because of the parentheses that I put. So when you're creating a complicated expression that has a bunch of addition, subtraction, and maybe multiplication and division, you can use parentheses around it just to make sure that you get your order of precedence happening correctly. Now, notice here that when I did 10 plus 2, 10 is an int, 2 is an int, so I got my answer back as an int. Now here, what I'm going to do in the second one is I'm going to change one of them to a decimal. So now I have a float minus an int, and what happens is I get out of it a float. So when you have ints, ints only, you're going to get ints back. If you have a mix of ints and floats, the answer will be upgraded to a float. Means you're going to get floats back. Now this was true for everything except for one. So let's kind of review again. Here, this one gives us the 8. 10 times 2 gave us the 20. Division will always give you a float back. So division will give you a float back because it wants to make sure that it's precise, and it's letting you know that we don't have a remainder if we don't have one, or maybe we do have a remainder. Like when we did 11 over 2, we got 5.5. So division gives you a float back. Okay. So remember when we talked about the types of variables, here we're just kind of reviewing what happened. So when you have ints, you're going to get an int. When you have when you have float, you're going to get a float. If you have a mix, it's going to be upgraded to a float. You can do this practice on your own. Now there's another type of operators that are called augmented assignment operators. And so basically it's in addition to an equal sign, you have the plus, minus, multiplication, division, and modulus before it. And what this means, so here, for example, I have a variable c, and I want to make it be whatever it was plus 5. For example, it's the grade, and I want to give you 5 points extra credit. So instead of saying c is equal to c plus 5, what I can say is c plus equal 5. What this is saying, I want you to update c by adding 5 to it and then save it back, assign it back. The equal sign is assigning back to the variable c. So for example, here, this is the augmented assignment operators. So here, someone got a grade of 60, and I want to give them extra credit. So instead of saying grade equal to grade plus 60, I'm going and saying, get me the grade, 5. Get me the grade and add 5 to it, and let's print it. Let's just make sure that it's now 65. It is. Well, instead of doing that, what I can do is I can say grade plus equal 5. Okay, and this is going to do the same thing. It's going to change it to be 65. And then you can do the same thing where you can subtract. So I can say grade minus equal 2. Okay, and so this is the same as saying I want grade to be equal to grade minus 2. So now if it was 65 and we subtract 2, it should be 63. And you can use that with all the other operators.